Hi, Scott here. Hope you're going well. So a bit of a funny week this week with the FOMC meeting yesterday and non-farm payroll and other things happening, the big news events of the month. So let's have a quick look at, and there's lots to talk about today, so it's quite exciting. There's a lot of setups looking pretty good for today. So I want to share a lot with you. So let's get straight into this. Let's a quick look at the news. I don't usually cover the news because it's not very interesting, and I just avoid the red flag news. So we've got red flags on here, orange flags as well can be important. This is in my forexfactory.com. In forexfactory.com there's a calendar, and you just set up the filter, which is here. This filter. Comes up, and I just have the red and the orange flags, and all the currencies are there. The Chinese yuan I don't really look at all, but so, and of course the big daddy is the US dollar. So when the US dollar moves, it tends to move the whole market. Let me just stop my video. You don't have to look at me. Okay, so we have so last night we had the this is in my time zone, so it'd be different for you obviously unless you live in Brisbane, East Coast Australia. The FOMC statement, which obviously they said basically, as far as I can tell, that inflation is not under control, and therefore no reason to stop raising rates. So let's destroy the economy, basically, is what it's saying. And that's what we won't go into politics because it's very boring and upsetting. But we have so we had that last night. There was a big price movement. Today we've got Swiss CPI numbers. CPI numbers tend to be affecting the whole market these days, just to some extent. Certainly will affect the Swiss. And then there's the pound. There's going to be some official bank rate increase, so that will affect the pound. There'll be some movement, whatever happens, if it stays the same or it goes as forecast. You can bet the bottom dollar that the pound will move. So steer clear of these currencies around the time of the news announcement. And the other one will be, of course, on Friday. We've got Thursday. Today. We've got unemployment claims later, and the US, and then some on Friday. There'll be big NFP. So I'd advise trying to be out of the market completely when this goes on, because the market moves crazily, all directions, whatever happens, more often than not. So anyway, you'll see the market moved yesterday when the FOMC statement was released. But there's lots to talk about today. Exciting. So let's see what we've got, and just be aware of the news events that may come out, that are coming out, and that may affect the market. Aussie Swiss, we're in a downtrend on the daily. It's pulled back to the daily 50, and it's rejected it quite cleanly. Had a few days of not sure. Then yesterday was a nice bearish high test candle. That's looking good. So we go to the lower time frames. We look at the 1 hour chart. We'll focus on mostly. It's a little bit wicky, being a Swiss currency pair, but we can see we're going sideways, and then this is the news announcement yesterday. Spike up, and it drove it down. So we have a lot of bearish pressure going on since that news statement, and that's probably going to continue today. Hopefully we get a pullback. So if we do a fib from the top of the spike, often I ignore news spikes, but this one seems to line up pretty well. Either that one, we can go from the top here, the highs. Both seem pretty good. And it lines up roughly with the pivot, the daily pivot, this blue line here. So we're looking for it won't be a C, but if it pulls back from here, it won't be a CBO because the 4-hour 50, this blue line, has not been clearly broken and retested. It's not really clearing it very well. We look at the 4-hour, it may pull lower. Okay, there's nothing to say it won't pull lower. We go to the 4-hour chart. We can see it's broken the 4-hour just, but it's wicking it. It's not a clear. We want to see a nice breakdown lower and a pullback. So it's not a CBO, but it may turn into one. It may break lower today, then pull back. We want the 1 hour. If it pulls back here soon, it'll be an IBO-C because we've already reached the 4-hour 50. We'll be trading through it. So the price action will go something like this. And we can trade that down. Or if it does go down lower first, it does trade down here and then pull back, it'll be a CBO. So that's worth watching. There are probably cleaner looking setups, but keep an eye on all of them because we never know what's going to happen. So Aussie yen, it's been messing around this level for quite a while, going sideways for the last week or so on the daily. Now we've got a nice clean breakdown. So it did test this line of resistance up here, which is pretty major, right? It's strong here, it's rejected it here, 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 and recently quite a few times here. And it's finally given up and it's now going short. So it's broken down below the daily 50 and the daily 20, looking like it's probably going to go short again. Weekly, doesn't really have much to say, going sideways for quite a while. So the overbought has kind of faded and it's gone back to the halfway line. So that's okay. It can easily go down from here, and the monthly, we can see it's been going strongly up, rolling over, and could well be going down. So daily, it's broken the daily 50 and looking like it's going short. Go to the hourly chart. See, it's mostly going sideways, but finally we're getting some movement down. Break and retest of the 1 hour 50. This was on Wednesday, so yesterday we had that. And that would have been a nice IBOC. And if you've got an entry in there, didn't quite touch the 1 hour 50, but very close. Then that could have given you, it could have been a good trade there. A bit scary when the news came out. We're now clearly broken below the 4 hour 50. Now the general rule is don't trade through the daily 50. Right, which on here is this green line, and the red line's a daily 20. They're both very close together. As we can see on the daily chart, almost touching. The general rule is don't trade through the daily 50. And that's what I stick to probably 99% of the time. But in this case, you can see it's been pretty much disregarding it. I guess it's acting as support here, but it's broken through it cleanly yesterday. And if we're going short, we're going short, whether daily 50 is there or not. So in the hourly chart, it's pretty much, it did test it, then it broke through it. So it's kind of disregarding it now. If it does pull back through it, there's a good chance it'll just keep on, it'll break back down and carry on its downtrend. So I personally would ignore that daily 50 and daily 20 in this case. Pretty rare case, but I'd ignore it. And that will give us, if it does pull back, we'll be going short. Show the fibs first. But with the fibs, this is my handle. So the fibs started from these highs down to what looks like the low, if it does pull back from here. Pull back to the 382, which is this red line on our fib. Hourly 50 lines up well, 4 hour 50 lines up well. Aussie yen, Asian pair, so it can pull back anytime in the next few hours. Maybe we'll have 3 or 4 hours of pulling back, and then entry and playing short. So that looks like it could be a nice little trade lining up soon if it can pull back through the daily 50. Have to wait and see on that one. But that looks like a nice trade. Stop behind the 0.618. As usual, with the CBO, because we've got a 4-hour 50 protection as well. And the take profit, looking at these lows here, probably this would be a fair price target. 2.5% on offer there. Would be nice, or a bit more conservative, would be up here somewhere, or you could even push it lower. So looking back at the daily, we can see that strong rejection of this level. It could well go down to these, retest these lows. So therefore, we can take this a little bit lower, have a take profit a bit lower, because of we're now going on this wave 5 run. So that could be a nice little trade. That could be traded down there, or you could use trade management to go to these lows here, or probably use the lows, is it? Yeah, looks like it. Oh, you can actually go down here even further. Anyway, that's down to your trading style and your trade management as well. Aussie dollar, let's go to that one. Aussie dollar's been a bit unpredictable recently, but yesterday's candle looks great with a nice high test and a bearish looking candle. We're just leaving the daily 2050 zone. We just cleared that. We're heading short. Reject this major level on the daily 50 pretty much. That's looking like a nice DDP, daily direction prediction of short for today. What do we get on our hourly chart? Sideways with a downward bias. So we're getting mostly lower highs and lower lows. And then a nice clean breakdown below the 4-hour 50 yesterday. Now, we want this thing to stop, don't we? We want it to stop and pull back to give us an entry. So we have to see how that plays out. At the moment, the people entering the market now in Asia, it's now 10 AM in Sydney, and those big players will be piling into their positions for the day after yesterday's news. So that's probably why it's still going down, but maybe the price will go up first to give a nice entry up here. That's what we can hope for. The fib, you could use the top of this wick. It lines up perfectly. If it comes back in the next couple of hours, then that would line up well. You do the entry at the pivot, 382 as well. Stop behind 618 on our fib. Or if it does take a bit longer to come back and the 1-hour 50 is dropped down lower, you could even adjust your fib to go maybe behind these highs here. There's a few options there. They all work, just depends on the timing of the pullback. Should we get one? Let's hope we do. So that'd be a nice little CBO. Take profit, probably target will be down either these lows conservative, which still gives 2%, or you could take it down to these lows here. Should be a lot more. So that's looking like a very nice trade as well. Hope we get a pullback sometime in the near future. KGN. Okay, KGN. We've got rejection of this line, this resistance line, which going back was strong or not. Nothing's too much going on this line, but it's rejected it strongly here and again recently. So it's looking like it's going short. What does the hourly give us? We won't be trading too far because we don't want to go through the daily 50. But there could be a trade on there. And we have from these highs, we've got a wave 1, a wave 2 pullback. Then wave 3 looks like it could be into 5 waves. So wave 3, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. And then the big wave 4 will be a pullback, and then the wave 5. That makes sense because it's all fractal. The Elliott wave is all fractal. So a wave 3 being the longest wave can be broken down into 5 waves. 4-hour chart looking at now, it's not really giving us much, is it? Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not really, probably just a wave 1. Doesn't really give us anything there. So let's go back to the 1-hour chart. So Elliott wave is not that clear, not that obvious, but it's looking like we could be having a pullback to up here. I've actually marked in a pip snatcher as well. Pip snatcher is a nice option. Quick 1-to-1 if it pulls back to the pivot. If the 1-hour 50 catches up in the next few hours. And we've also got the 4-hour 50 before I stop. So 4-hour 50 protection as well, which is very nice for a pip snatcher. We have a trend line for a pip snatcher. Something like that. Not best, it can still break, you have to break that briefly and then pull back down again. Yeah, not ideal, but okay. And the MACD is looking great still, it's still trending down with the price action. So it's looking good for pip snatcher. What you could also do is a CBO. Broken the 1-hour 50 and the 4-hour 50. We haven't really come back to retest them both. Kind of did here, but that's not really a good CBO because there's no 4-hour 50 break. It's kind of just a wick tip on the 4-hour chart. This is the 1-hour chart. If you go to the 4-hour chart, we'll see that it is just that down candle and a pullback, adjacent bars. So that's not really a clear break, which we're getting now. And if we get a pullback, that'll be a nice CBO. So fib will probably, the first one I like to do is from the run that broke the 4-hour. And the run about 4 hours from here. It broke here through the 4-hour, then we came back and through the 4-hour cleanly, and then all the way down to here. This is where I like to start. If it doesn't work, then I'll play with other possibilities of the fib. So we can see that 382 lines up well with the pivot, but doesn't really line up with the 1-hour 50. 1-hour 50 is quite a way back. So can we get a better one? We go from the highs. That lines up better. We need to come back through the pivot, reach the 1-hour 50 in the next few hours. So it's the 1-hour 50 and the 382 on our fib. Stop behind the 618, which lines up perfectly with our R1, and then stop down here with daily 50. So it's not too dissimilar to a pip snatcher, but we do have a higher profit potential there, 1.4%. So that's one worth keeping an eye on. I like that one. Euro Aussie. Right, this one is interesting because we have a pullback to the daily 2050 zone. Also a very strong run up here, rejecting this line, this trend line, which goes way back. You can see on the monthly it goes way back. We can go back if we want to, but we've seen that before many times. It's rejected this daily 20. Well, it's rejected it here and here and here, and 2 low test dojis on the daily 20. That implies that we're going to go long, we're going to go up. So what could we do here? We could use this as a nice little swing trade. So if we had a normal swing trade, what we call a power trend, because this is the main trend, long, pull back, we're on that main trend long again. So we can do a long position based on our daily chart, enter just above yesterday's highs, stop just below yesterday's lows. Now, if we train out to this trend line, we're only going to get 1%, I'll say. Just over 1%. Still okay, but we can do better than that by using our knowledge on the lower time frames and creating an SBO, which is a swing breakout, but just entering and stop. You're putting our stop based on our 1 hour price action. So it's not the cleanest. You can see it's a bit hard to find a nice trend line, but it's okay. Maybe this line goes up here, does it? Not really. Maybe that's better. Around here somewhere is a trend line. Now to break this trend line, we're going to be going quite long, quite high up. So on the daily entry, we'll be entering above this wick here, just up here somewhere. It's not going to be much different on our SBO, on our hourly chart, because of this trend line. It's quite shallow and it's quite high up in all these wicks. What could we do? We could have an entry on a break of this trend line, which is looking like it might do soon, or it might just reject it and do it lower down. Hopefully it will. But if we did break out now on the hourly close, get that, let's try again. On the hourly close above this trend line, it's already cleanly broken the hourly 50, but that doesn't really matter. It's been breaking it consistently and ignoring it pretty much. This trend line seems to be much stronger. So if we did get a break here, we could enter there. Our take profit would be up near the top, near the highs. Or we put that trend line, this trend line here. Is that the right one? I'll take that blue one. And copy that. We can paste it in here. Okay, so we can go up to this trend line, which you can see actually perfectly wicked it here previously. So that's our take profit. And so the stop below the lows would be right down here. As you can see, 1.3%, slightly better, but not much. That depends when the entry presents. It may keep going down lower and present further down here, which would give us a tighter entry and therefore more profit, more reward risk. Do we have a level down the bottom here? Kind of a level here, don't we? Kind of, not great. It's been broken a bit. Okay, and also we have the option here of stop clipping. We might say this level here is pretty significant, and therefore we can just put our stop maybe below these lows here. And now our profit is 1.8%. And if it happens further down here, profit's about the same, entry might be down here on the 1 hour close above this trend line break. Now probably it's 2.5%. So you see with a bit of, see when this presents, but with a bit of clever knowledge on the 1 hour chart and our trend lines and price action in general, we can get a swing trade with higher profit margins. Obviously there's higher risk, but you're managing that risk by using your knowledge for the price action. That's one to keep an eye on for a swing. Otherwise, we'd wait for a CBO, which will give a break and a retest of the 4 hour 50. And the advantage of an SBO is that you'll always get an entry. Right? You're always going to get a break close above the one at this trend line. So you're always going to get an entry. The CBO, it may not present for whatever reason. You might even get IBOC, but IBOC's, no, the 1 hour 50 is disregarded. So I'll stick with the 4 hour 50. Even that's not being looked at much. Nice break, retest, and then the 4 hour 50, and then you can get even higher reward risk if that presents. That's Euro Aussie, that's a lot to talk about. So let's quickly move on to Euro Swiss. We're rejecting this strong resistance level. It bounced up, it's taking its time, but it's finally breaking down. We might get a CBO or a pip snatcher on here. Yeah, we've got both on offer. Prices CBO may have presented. Let's see if the 4 hour did give a break and a retest. Yeah, kind of. Pretty aggressive CBO, but it could have been. That would have been last night. Otherwise, we've got our pip snatcher on now. Or maybe even a better CBO. Nice big pullback up to here. We do have a trend line in play, it seems. Although not the best. Pip snatcher into the pivot. 1 hour 50 is a bit far behind, not ideal. So just need to pull back to the trend line and 1 hour 50, enter around the pivot and get a quick 1-to-1. As with all pip snatchers, I try to disqualify it. Yes, we've got to make the divergence here. We can see we have between this low and this lower low on the price action, we have a higher low there on the MACD. MACD divergence, implying it's losing downward momentum and trend reversal is not too far away. So pip snatcher maybe not worth the risk. CBO, a bit risky for that same reason. We're looking at it purely as a CBO. Yeah, don't know. I think we missed it. It could play out. Bit risky because of the MACD divergence. So it might just pull back here and then bounce a bit and then break through that trend line and change into upward momentum. So Euro Swiss, not great. I'll put it on secondary. Euro Yen. Oh, just have a quick drink. Okay, so we've had a rejection this level again. Really nice downward momentum yesterday, and looking for a downward day today. For short trade, we've missed most of the. Probably had a CBO. 4 hour retest was back here. 4 hour 50 retest, and this trend line. Once we retested that, it was off to the races. And then the MACD. It's okay. Slowing down a bit. It's okay. If it pulls back now, would we get a CBO? Maybe. A bit risky. But we do have a pip snatcher. So maybe enter pivot, stop behind the R1 and 1%. 1 hour 50 is not too far behind. If it does manage to catch up at entry time, then that could be a good little pip snatcher short for a quick 1%. So keep that on the, keep an eye on that one. Pound yen. Looks similar. Up, rejection this level, very bearish day yesterday. Some more bearish action today, down to the daily 20. This is a pretty strong support level, which we broke through, but it's not far away, so be mindful of that. This is looking a bit better for a CBO, mainly because 1 hour 50, 4 hour 50 are lining up well. The 382 of our fib lines up well, so it does reject this level, which it seems to be. And taking from the start of this run, the stop of the fib, 282 lines up well, just past the pivot, so have to break the pivot to give us an entry. That's all looking good. Stop behind the 618, being a CBO with the 4 hour protection, as well as a 1 hour 50 protection. And take profit, the obvious target would be the daily 20, or maybe slightly higher where these lows are here. So that's looking like a nice little setup that hopefully happened not too far from now. Being a yen pair, it could be in the Asia session. Pound dollar. So again, we've got this long trend line we've been following for a while. It's rejected that very cleanly. We've had a bearish day yesterday, working through the daily 50 and looking bearish again today. Hopefully, that's what the hourly chart gives us. So we've been going down. It's definitely lower lows and lower highs. We've now got a clear break of the 4-hour 50, which is this blue line. And if you do a fib from perhaps this high here, which is also the same as this high here, if it does stop going down, which it will do soon probably because it's daily 20, maybe that will be enough to people to take profits, and then it to pull back to 382. 1-hour 50 will catch up. 4-hour 50 is just there as well, entering about here somewhere. Stop behind our 618 and take profit down to these lows perhaps. Again, the daily 50 is kind of there and did get rejected here, but second time blasted straight through it, and we'll be just retesting it when our entry presents. If it presents up here, so it might just wick through, give us an entry, and then nice little short trade. So that's a nice looking setup as well. You want a QB yen. Nice rejection. Very bullish day here, followed by a high test and a dovish candle, and then a very bearish day yesterday. So that's looking good for a short trade today. We do have this trend line here. Keep an eye on that one. That may cause some kind of resistance on its way through, some kind of support for the price. Let's bear that in mind. What do we have here? It's an old fib. That one. Okay, so from these highs, clearly trend change, lower highs, lower lows, trending down. Nice clean break of the 1-hour 50. It did retest it when the news happened yesterday, but don't worry about that one. Hopefully get a nice clean IBO. If it does pull back. 1-hour 50 catching up. The pivot, daily pivot's about the same as well. We did get entry at the 382. Our stop will be behind our 0.75 and our R1 as well from the daily pivots. Trade down to 4-hour 50. 1.4% there, that's okay. Or, as we are, is this a run or a pullback? This is more of a pullback or a start of a new run, isn't it? So there's lots of rejections up here on the weekly. Lots of rejections. And the MACD has been dropping off quite significantly, implying that we are going to get some lower prices. This is more of a pullback though, especially with this trend line here that may be resistance and day 20 catching up. So pullback, don't go too greedy. Maybe it's the 4-hour 50, or maybe take a little bit lower. This is that trend line, I presume. That would be a nice price target as well. Down to the trend line, maybe 2%. That could be nice. Kiwi dollar. Pull up to the daily 20, hanging around here for a while. Lovely high test, bearish candle yesterday, looking fit to go short today. So a lot of these DDPs now are very clear. It's just a matter of finding the right strategy on the lower time frames to enter a trade. Okay, so this one didn't want to slow down. It's still going down. Looks like it's going to reach the 4-hour 50 before it turns around. If it does that, maybe we should take our fib from this high here. 1-hour 50 catch up in 3, 4, 5 hours. And give us an entry here. Stop behind 0.75. And do we get 1-to-1 before the 4-hour 50? Very close. Okay. The idea of getting 1-to-1 before the 4-hour 50 is that On reaching the 450, which is obviously going to be some kind of resistance or support to break through, we can pull our trade down to break even, or at least reduce our stop loss significantly. So should it bounce off the 450 and then carry on long, then we don't lose money, much money, if any. Now we do have a confirmed trend change, lower highs, or perhaps it's a double top. Either way, that's a good bearish signal. We've got a lower low. This is the old low. This is definitely going to be a lower low. So that looks okay. We do have a trend change. It'll be an IBOC because we've already reached 450. More than likely, we can trade it down to day 20, 1.85%. Or what are we looking at? Kiwi USD. Okay, we might well be going. This is the main trend is down. This is a pullback to the daily 50. And on the weekly chart, we've got a nice high test there on the weekly forming. So we could be trading down to these lows. So we can, on our hourly chart, we can, depending on what sort of trader you are, you might target these lows down here, which will give 4.8%. That would be very nice. Let's look at dollar CAD. Dollar CAD's been looking bullish, but quite wicky, and a very nice low test yesterday with a bullish looking close. So looking for an update today, for a long trade. On the 1 hour chart, it's exaggerated, let's shrink it down a bit. 1 hour chart, we can see with the 550 has been clear resistance. Finally broken through it yesterday after the news. Let's readjust our fib if this ever stops and pulls back. The lows at the lows, this new spike might be okay, or you could even go down to these lows here. Dollar CAD won't pull back for another 8 hours probably. So might have to readjust it when that time comes, but it's looking like if it does that for 8 hours pulling back, we have the 1 hour 50 catching up, the 4 hour 50 will be for our stop. Entry around the 382, which is also lining up with a pivot, which is good. And our stop just below the 618 or this S1 on our daily pivots. And our stop will be before the R1 perhaps, which will be some kind of resistance, or these highs, which are about the same. That gives 2%. That would be nice. We might even want to target these highs. Go back to the daily chart. Yeah, it could well be going back to highs. So depending on your trading style, where you put your profit target, I'm a bit more conservative. I'll probably put my stop there. 2%. I like 2%. Nice, clean. 2% is good. Right, so we've got, that's it for the ones that are setting up right now. Now let's look at ones which may be setting up later today. So Aussie Kiwi. Right, we've been looking at this for a while, and the bearish pressure continues. So is now the time to jump on a short trade. Let's have a look at our RSI. For me, it's a no because we're in the oversold territory, so I would not be going short here. Just too risky. Because it can turn around at any time. Let's look at our 1 hour chart and see what that gives us. Okay, so we've had this trend line. We've broken occasionally, and now cleanly broken and is now acting as support. That's a good reversal signal. The MACD should be trending down. It's been trending sideways and recently trending up. So there's more indications that we are having a reversal in our trend from short to long. So I would not want to be trading this short, although a pip snatcher is presenting. I wouldn't want to trade that short. I would expect that to be breaking down, breaking up even. When it breaks up, we test the 1 hour 50. You can have a nice little long trade, something like this. Whoops, that's a short trade. That's not going to work. We'll put a long trade in here. Break and retest the 1 hour 50. Up to the 4 hour 50. Stop probably around here somewhere. Keep an eye on that one. Do we have another trend line forming? Maybe there's a trend line there as well, kind of. Inspected a few times, but we're clearly breaking that as well. So when it comes back, we test the 1 hour 50, then we'll be looking to go long, at least as a pullback to the 4 hour 50. So that's one to keep an eye on for later, might happen later today or later today, yeah, or maybe tomorrow. Okay. Looking like it might be going short. Not looking convincing now, is it? Let's see what our hourly chart gives us. Well, it's been going sideways, but we've now broken the 4 hour 50. If it's going to give us a retest the 4 hour 50 net, for me is not enough. It needs to break down much lower, then pull back to the 4 hour 50 to give us CBO short. So watch the price action there to see if that's actually going to happen or not. What does the MACD say? Going sideways, so the MACD is not going to give us much, but it definitely seems to be, well, that's okay. Putting it back, and now it's starting to pull down again, so maybe keep an eye on that one. Pound Swiss will be looking similar. Yeah, I've had few down days, maybe got a down day continuing. And again, the 4 hour 50 has not been broken, so we get a nice clean break at the 4 hour 50 and a pullback. We could be looking for a nice CBO short. And on the MACD, downtrend, sideways to down. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go pound Kiwi. We are here then. So here we have going short, but hitting the daily 50. Is that going to reject the daily 50 and go long? It's not very nice price action, but let's see what the 1 hour gives us. So very bearish for quite a while. It's hit the daily 50, this green line. Rejected it cleanly yesterday, and now it's maybe going long. So what I see here is the MACD from this low to these lows, clearly giving a much higher reading. So therefore, MACD divergence, implying we're going long. Right, so I would not want to be taking a trade short here, especially through the daily 50. I'll be waiting for some kind of reversal price action. So keep an eye on that one. QBCAD. Running up, breaking the daily 50, retesting it, running up, and then yesterday with the news, we've got a really nice high test candle, looking like a nice reversal signal at this major level, which if we go back far enough is pretty significant. So go back and test that yourself. You should be happy that's a major level, and that could be a good reason for this to pull back to the daily 50 at least. On the weekly chart, we can see it's pulled back to this level here. This low here. It's now pulled back to it. It's rejected the weekly 20 and could well be going short now. Get a couple of days short here. That'll be a nice high test doji looking candle on the weekly. So it looks like we could be going short here. On the hourly chart, we have a nice big uptrend that's been going for quite a while. Good trend line in there, and it looks like it's still being respected very nicely. But maybe breaking lower right now. Does the MACD show us signs of MACD divergence? Yes, it does. Clearly, this is lower than this. And price action, it's clearly higher. So that's a MACD divergence. We are probably heading lower. Clear break of this trend line and a retest. be a nice IBO short. And that's looking quite nice. Again, be aware this is a very strong uptrend. This breakdown may cause a bounce back up to retest this trend line. In which case, if you did have a trade in here short, you might find your stop is a little bit too close, and this might just whip through and take your stop out. Just be aware of that. This may happen really quickly and then to up here, or it may not pull back that far at all. Just be aware of that, because that's caught me out a few times. It's annoying when it happens, right? Because it comes back, just takes you out, and then goes in favour. Anyway, good one to look at. Kiwi CAD, Kiwi Swiss. This is a good one. So let's zoom into the daily chart. So we can clearly see this trend line going way back, and it's been respected really well. Now, I adjusted it yesterday to include the candle for the day before. And then yesterday we got this beautiful high test candle. Look at that. Beautiful high test candle. And this line has been respected again. So obvious DDP, short. Back down to the daily 50. Again, swing trade. Not great, because the daily 50 is quite close. You won't get much out of it, which is a shame, but it's an IBO would be a good option. So this is that level, which I will now adjust because it's clearly rejected it on the daily chart. And that makes sense there. So we've broken this trend line here. Just a good little trend line. Been broken finally. And now we're looking to go short. MACD agree with us? Absolutely it does. We've got a much lower high on the MACD. MACD divergence. We're heading short. Right, so what do we want to see? We want to see a clear break of this 1 hour 50. Not to go quite that far. Nice pullback. And we can have a trade down to the 4 hour 50. Or you can push it down to the 30-50 if you wanted to. Being a pullback, conservative target is my favorite and recommended. And that's it. Wow, that was a lot. Oh, there's my video going. Got a video. Okay, that was a lot to get through. So there's lots on offer. Just please be aware of the news. Try and avoid the news best you can, especially inflation figures, CPI, bank rate increases. They're the ones that can move the whole market. Swiss today, pound later today, non-farm payroll tomorrow. So beware of the news, but apart from that, lots of juicy trades possibly selling out. Wish you all the best in the markets. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Take care.